has said that it will be willing to answer any question provided that they are the IAEA presents to Iran the original documents.
The original chance of that, but yes, why? Why?
Exactly. And the United States not only has refused to do that, but it has also refused to put the computer under a simple test. You know, if a computer, a laptop actually did exist, you can actually check to see when was it that this or that document was uploaded in that computer and when and what time. The United States has refused to put that laptop that nobody has seen under that test, which goes to show, which would show whether those documents are actually uploaded in that computer, and if they were, when was it that they were? Because everybody says that that laptop was stolen from Iran, taken outside Iran in 2004. That means 6 years ago. Now, the issue of the laptop never came out until the National Intelligence Estimate in November of 2007 was published that said that if Iran had a nuclear weapon program, it stopped it in 2003. All of a sudden, because the National Intelligence Estimate certified that about Iran, all of a sudden the laptop became important. All of a sudden, almost immediately after that, in February of 2008, the IAEA announced that Iran, that was in 6 minor non-compliance cases with the safeguard agreement, all those issues had been clarified, and there was no active issue. Immediately after that, Ali Heinonen, who was deputy director for safeguard agreement, made a presentation to the board of governors entirely based on that laptop, making all sorts of allegations against Iran's nuclear program. None of it has been confirmed. Nobody has seen those documents. Nobody has seen the laptop, and yet they asked the Iranian government to explain these things. This is unbelievable. That, is like putting somebody on trial, but not showing him what he's accused of or who is accusing him, and based on what evidence and what document. And as I said, the laptop issue only came out after the National Intelligence Estimate was published about Iran's nuclear program. So these are basically hot air and, a lot of smoke, as you said, but there has never been a smoking gun. Al-Baradei, before he left IAEA, said many, many times that we have never been able to find a smoking gun. He also said explicitly two things that are very meaningful. He said Iran's nuclear program has been hyped. He said that the program has been hyped by the Western power many times. He also said that we cannot measure the intention of a nation. The only thing that the IAEA can do is go to a nation, to a country, and check facts on the ground. And facts on the ground, which means Iran's nuclear facilities in Iran, has been inspected by the IAEA, and as I told you, according to Al-Baradei himself, has gone under the most intrusive inspection in the history of IAEA, and they have never been able to find any evidence of diversion of nuclear material from peaceful to non-peaceful. But when Yukio Amano took over last year, he started moving the IAEA in a political direction. In the first report that he issued, he talked about undeclared nuclear material. Well, there has never been any talk of undeclared nuclear material, and he never presented any evidence that such material may exist. So why do you talk about something that there is no evidence for it, that IAEA has never mentioned it in the past reports, and all of a sudden you bring it up? This is just politicization of IAEA. And then in the latest report, as we discussed, he mentions the fact that Iran didn't allow the inspector to take samples of heavy water, which is not within the authority of IAEA. Or he mentions that Iran didn't allow 2 inspectors out of a very large number of inspectors to inspect Iran's nuclear program. These are all just moving IAEA from a scientific technological organization that should inspect a nation's nuclear program to a political arm of some Western powers, including the United States, to put pressures on the countries that this country, the United States, doesn't like.
Yeah. Well, my friend Gordon Prather, he always especially resented the fact that the IAEA was created to help proliferate peaceful nuclear technology to the people of the world, and that instead it was hijacked. It was taken over after the NPT was passed and turned into the global ATF or something here. And you're right, it really is sad to see Al-Baradei go. Maybe he'll be the president of Egypt one day.
Yes.
But, something that you brought up in there is the outrage against the English language. This is like a war crime against speech and whether words mean anything, whether logic counts. This is the Donald Rumsfeld standard of evidence. Prove what you're not doing or die. Mm-hmm. And now how is anyone ever supposed to be able to prove a negative? They said the same thing about Saddam Hussein all the time. Well, if he would just bring us his secret nuclear weapons and give them to us, then we'd destroy them and we'd know he wouldn't have them anymore. The fact that he hasn't brought them to us means he's still hiding them. And this is the kind of argument that not only adults can entertain, but leaders can use to bring a country into war, prove a negative, which just doesn't work. You can't do that. How many grains of sand, how many stones are there in Iran to be overturned to make sure there's not a secret atom bombs factory under them? And meanwhile, we're still waiting for a single shred of evidence that such a thing exists there. I mean, you say maybe there's a little smoke but not a smoking gun. I say there's nothing but an illusion of smoke, a projection of smoke created by Washington, D.C. and Tel Aviv to make it seem as though this safeguarded, capital S, quote-unquote, safeguarded civilian nuclear program must have some nefarious purpose to it. And it's all about seeming that way, never really making a case that is the way it is, Mohammed.
I totally agree, and I agree with you. Maybe I shouldn't have said there is a little bit of a smoke. There isn't any smoke. I mean, there is just only hot air, and that hot air is the result of the propaganda. That's for sure. You have to remember, Iran is a country 4 times larger than Iraq, so proving a negative in Iran case is even more difficult than in Iraq case. And we know what happened to Iraq. I mean, the guy, of course, he was a terrible dictator. He was a bloodthirsty dictator. I'm happy that he was gone, although I was against invasion of Iraq. I am still against invasion of Iraq. I still think it was an illegal invasion. But the fact of the matter is the guy didn't have a nuclear program. And even the IAEA had said that the guy doesn't have a nuclear program. There was no active program. In Iran's case, there is a nuclear program. But the nuclear program, at least to the extent that we know, up to the moment that you and I are talking, we know that it's peaceful, at least so far. There has never been, as you said, a shred of evidence that there is any diversion from a peaceful program to a non-peaceful program. Now, I don't know what goes on in the brain of the Iranian leaders. Maybe they want to do something. I don't know that. But the evidence, the physical facts, the facts on the ground, as inspected by International Atomic Energy Agency, tells me that at least up to this point, Iran's nuclear program is entirely peaceful and has nothing to do with making nuclear weapons.
In fact, to a degree, I guess they even have proven the negative as far as declared nuclear material, which would be all nuclear material that anyone has any evidence has been ever pulled out of the ground in that country or put to any use whatsoever. They have verified the non-diversion. They have proved, the IAEA, not the Iranians, the IAEA has proved what has not happened to the uranium. Hasn't gone anywhere because it's still right there.
And I should point out that if Iran were to do that, if Iran were to divert nuclear material from peaceful to non-peaceful, the world would know about it right away, because they couldn't do it, secretly, because everything is inspected by IAEA. So the only way they could actually do it is go the way that North Korea went. In other words, expel the IAEA inspectors from Iran, and then declare that they are leaving the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and then start a crash program in order to convert their stockpile of low-enriched uranium to high-enriched uranium. But if they take this action, and this is the only sensible course of action that they can take, if they were going to go along that path, the whole world would know about it. And in fact, the whole world would have enough time to negotiate something with Iran. So this all nonsense about Iran's nuclear weapon program. In the mainstream in this country, they always talk about Iran's nuclear weapon program. What weapon program? There is no nuclear weapon program. There is a nuclear program, but not there is a nuclear weapon program. Where is the weapon? Where is the plan for making a weapon? Mm-hmm. None exists.
Well, it's a very important point. It's something that I try to talk about as often as I can, that in order, if they did say that, okay, our technology is good enough now, it's reliable enough now, that now we do want to make nuclear weapons, they would have to publicly withdraw from the Non-Proliferation Treaty, kick the inspectors out. There wouldn't really be any secret about it. They might as well literally beat their chest and say, we're making nukes now, if they were to take that step. And the reason that that's especially remarkable right now is because it's only within the last couple of weeks that the New York Times even admitted as much. And under David Sanger's byline, no less, although Mark Mazzetti was the principal author of the piece. That must be why there was some truth in the thing. And what they reported, and this was from, it's either August 16th or 19th in the New York Times, Mazzetti and Sanger, and they said, basically they rehearsed that exact same thing. For Iran to be able to begin making nuclear weapons, they would have to withdraw from the treaty on the non-proliferation nuclear weapons, kick the IAEA inspectors out of the country, and begin. And then they said, according to their intelligence sources, I guess they weren't so specific as CIA, but American intelligence now believes that if they were to do that, it would take them at least a year from that point, beginning at that point, to make a bomb. And they say in there, to make a single one. And they say in there as well that U.S. intelligence believes that the Iranians are having more trouble than ever with their centrifuges at Natanz, that they have technical difficulties of all kinds, that they're having problems overcoming, and that a year might even be a very short estimate. And one more thing before I turn it back over to you is that every other headline in America was Iran 1 year away from nuclear bomb.
Exactly. And the very important point here is this. Even if Iran went along this path, and even Iran succeeded in making 2 nuclear devices, not nuclear bomb, because nuclear bomb you need a delivery system, and Iran doesn't have the delivery system. Yes, Iran has an active missile program, but the missile program, to the extent that we know about it, and they constantly test their missile, there is no indication that they can actually carry a nuclear warhead. So it would be a nuclear device, not a nuclear warhead, and this is an important distinction. And on top of that, even if Iran did make those, they have to test them. So that means that in 2 tests, 1 or 2 tests, they will get rid of all the stockpile of low-energy uranium that they have converted to high-energy uranium and make a bomb. So that means they have nothing to say, nothing more to do anything with it.
But that's not really right, isn't it? Because if they make a simple gun-type uranium nuke, then they don't really need to test that. They didn't test the Hiroshima bomb. They only tested the Nagasaki bomb, the implosion plutonium bomb. But they knew that the gun-type uranium nuke would work first try.
Well, they could, but you have to remember, even North Korea tried.
But that was an implosion bomb, plutonium harvested from their Soviet reactors.
That's true.
Which debunks another lie of John Bolton's, that there was a secret uranium enrichment program in North Korea. But that's a whole other story, isn't
it? That's very true. They couldn't. They wouldn't need to test it this way, but they would still at least need a delivery system to deliver the nuclear warhead to wherever that they are supposed to attack. And I don't think they are going to attack any country, even if they have nuclear weapon. Let's say, for example, if they have a small arsenal of nuclear weapon, and this is just a hypothetical situation, and let's say that all the propaganda in this country is that the Islamic Republic wants to attack Israel and wipe Israel off the map, which is not true. I mean, the code that Ahmadinejad made was mistranslated. But let's say that that's even that's true. The Iranian leader, as bad as they are internally, they know full well that any attack on Israel will bring a huge counterattack, not only by Israel, but also by the United States. Israel is known to have a nuclear arsenal, having between 200 to 400 nuclear warhead with all the delivery system and everything else. So any attack on Israel by Iranian leader would evaporate Iran many times over. So why would they want to do that? Why would they want this to destroy their own regime, even if they don't care about the nation, their own regime? Why would they want to do that? It just doesn't make sense.
I'm Scott Horton. I'm talking with Mohammed Sahimi. He's a professor at USC, and I think that the War Party has an answer to that, which is that they want to blow up the world and force the 12th Imam to come back, and it'll be like the apocalypse, sort of like the John Hagee Cornerstone Church in San Antonio, only in power over there in Iran. That's what they say.
Oh, that's nonsense. I mean, Shias have been talking about the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, who is supposedly hiding for over 1100 years. There has never been any evidence that Mahdi will come back any soon, any